My name is Pat Hathaway. I'm a photographer, photo archivist. I've been a Peninsula resident for over 60 years. I have a collection of over 80,000 images going back to the 1850s. Been collecting since 1970. The widow of a local photographer offered the collection to the museum in the city, and everybody turned it down. And to this day, I still don't know why they turned it down, but I saved it from going to the dump and started a new career as a photo archivist. I had been a photographer in the Army and wanted to stay in photography, and realized that if I was going to be a photographer on the Peninsula, I had to do something unique that nobody else was doing. And then I saw the ad in the paper that this collection was on the way to the dump, and saving it changed my life, and I think probably the life of many people on the Peninsula. I have people that come in all the time and find pictures of family members or people they knew or their homes. So it's a real community service, I feel, that I'm doing. The initial collection was about 5,000 images. It's now over 80,000 images. And as I say, it's mostly by professional photographers, large format negatives, which ensures the very good quality of the prints. And then the Herald did a story on me, and then people said, oh, you want all the photos? I got a trunk full. And it just kind of snowballed from there. And now I've been doing it so long that I'm having people bring photos that their parents bought from me 30, 40 years ago and saying, we have these old photos. Would you like to have them? And I say, no, I already have those. Those are my prints that you're trying to sell me back. Luckily, I started young enough that I knew people around that had been on the Peninsula for a long time and was able to ask them where things were or who people were. But now I've been doing it so long that there's nobody left to ask what things are. And I spend hours sometimes or days trying to identify one photo. I call myself the Dead Photographer Society, and I'm having to recreate or identify their lives, where they were, what they were doing when they came to the Peninsula. I've seen many photos accredited to photographers that weren't born yet, who had just copied somebody else's photo, put their name on the back of it, and people assumed that this guy was, 120 years old because the picture was taken in 1880 and he was born in, the 20s. The one thing that I've noticed looking at my photographs is that there are many more trees today than there were 100 years ago. People always say, oh, these trees have been here forever, and I can show pictures of the area where there's not a tree in sight. Recently I did the Carmel Mission Fiesta, and I had somebody say, oh, Father Sarah planted this tree over there, and I pulled out a picture and showed them no trees in that whole area. And they said, oh, but I was told that Sarah planted that tree. Well, no way. In the early days of photography, photographers had to use tripods and large format cameras, and it took a long time to set up to take a picture. It would take some photographers up to 15 minutes per picture. I have one photographer that would record each picture, the time that he took the picture, and I've been able to verify that it took him 15 minutes for each picture he took to set up, move the tripod, that type of thing. This is going back to the turn of the century. I have many pictures that are rare and unique. One in the building of Bixby Creek Bridge in 1932 was one of my favorites. There's probably the most often seen picture of Cannery Row by George Seidneck, who was a photographer and local artist. There's pictures of early Pacific Grove. I've cataloged over 31,000 images. I've, to this point, have about 8,000 on my website. Monterey has been a mecca for photography for over 100 years, from everybody from Carlton Watkins to Tabor to local photographers, C.K. Tuttle, Cedar Johnson, J.K. Oliver, Slevin of Carmel, literally hundreds of photographers. Photographers came to the Peninsula because of the beauty. It's one of the most beautiful places on the California coast. It's drawn writers, Robinson Jeffers, Steinbeck, everybody has been drawn by the beauty. Some of the most historic ones I have are the early ones of Carmel Mission before it was restored, Alvarado Street in the 1880s when it was just a dirt street, Carmel, same thing with just dirt streets. The collection is very broad. It has everything from architectural people, pictures of John Steinbeck, Ed Ricketts, Robinson Jeffers, Robert Louis Stevenson, all the famous people that lived here on the peninsula. Most of these, their negatives have sat in storage and their family members have given them to me. One of my favorite stories, though, is when I had a shop on Lighthouse in New Monterey, I was looking out the window and there was a man sitting in front of a photo, looking at this photo for probably 20 minutes. And I finally went over outside and asked him and looked at what he was looking at and asked him what his interest was in Ed Ricketts. And his answer was, he was my dad. And he has since given me lots of pictures of his father that he took. CNN came to interview me and also to see some of the early images I have of the Lone Cypress dating back to pre-Pebble Beach Company. And Pebble Beach Company was claiming that they had had all the photographers sign a release that they wouldn't use these photos, you know, going back over 100 years. It's all public domain. They can't take something out of the public domain. I had to sneak the CNN crew onto Pebble Beach. They wouldn't let the CNN van into Pebble Beach because they knew what they were doing. So I snuck CNN onto the Pebble Beach Company to take pictures of the Lone Cypress when they were claiming copyright to it, which I think they pretty much dropped that now. The collection is continuing to grow, everything from eBay to people that know that I collect. Probably every year I get at least 500 to 1,000 new images per year, cataloged over 31,000 images out of what I figure is over 80,000 in the collection total.